This is Altamont Pass in Northern California, and the wind coming over these hills is powering those wind turbines, and that is creating clean, renewable energy in the form of electricity, which is going to power this, the 2009 Altima Hybrid from Nissan. Hi, I'm Mark Fulmer, and today we are going to learn all about electric vehicle technology from Del Coates, who is just back from a very interesting international conference. And we're going to take a ride in the new Altima Hybrid. All coming up right now on Road Trip. I'm here with our very own Del Coates. Now, Del, you have a little bit of history with electric vehicles, don't you?
Yeah, I worked for Ford's Advanced Vehicle Concepts Department back in the 60s, and they were working on electric cars at the time and some pretty advanced batteries too. And then after that, I ended up working for a startup electric car company, and they were converting Renaults by putting 1,900 pounds of lead-acid batteries in them into electric cars.
A lot has changed since the 60s. I mean, the Rolling Stones were playing rock and roll music out here, and now we've got windmills and we've got hybrid cars.
And a lot of free energy going by here that is going to be powering our cars more and more.
So let's take a drive in the new Altimas.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of an electric vehicle, right here.
Yes.
The silent getaway, right?
The all-EV mode.
Yes.
Let's see, how fast can we go in all-EV?
Yeah. The 2009 Altima Hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have been across the big puddle. You have, and you were at EV24, and it appears that those beautiful years between 1900 and 1915, the first electrical car era, where 1 in 3 cars in America was electric, has now been followed up with what could be the start of the second era of electrical vehicles.
I think that's a very realistic possibility. In fact, I think the consensus that I saw at this conference, which was held in Stavanger, Norway, is that a second electric car era is virtually assured. All the important players are on board now. Manufacturers, the utility companies, the component manufacturers, and the public has finally acknowledged the fact that the electric car is going to have a presence.
This was an international conference, so you're talking about all of these organizations worldwide.
Yes,
right?
yes, and it was, it was literally called the International Electric Vehicle Symposium, and it was marking its 40th anniversary, although this was only the 24th meeting. But I was at the 3rd meeting back in 1974, which was held in Washington, D.C., and the mood was entirely different. I mean, you know, it was tenuous and hopeful, but all these electric car advocates had been pretty much dashed in their expectations, and they were still. It seemed almost a hopeless dream that someday the electric car would come back. But this time it was all cheerful, and it was optimistic. I mean, everybody was not talking about if, they were talking about when, and it seems clear now that the hybrid car was an important catalyst in this whole process. And
now let's do a little comparison. In the first era, the thing that killed the electric car was economics. The cost of the batteries and the cost of that power was just a fraction of the cost in terms of comparing it with a gasoline engine.
That's correct.
How has that changed?
Well, the batteries have always been expensive, and in fact that is still a problem. And if you talk about lead-acid batteries, which it has always been since the earliest days, they just didn't have the range, and they you know, an electric car from that first era could go maybe 20 miles on a charge. And the fact is, that wasn't much different in the 60s or the 70s. They were so expensive, in fact, that an electric car in 1915, say, cost 5 times as much as a Model T Ford. And or 3 times. I can't remember the exact number, but it was multiple times as expensive. And that's still a problem. You know, the nickel metal hydride batteries in this hybrid represent a pretty expensive chunk. They may cost, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 to replace. And the lithium-ion batteries, although they hold a lot more power, can take a car a much greater distance, are even more expensive.
If cars are your thing, if you're a gearhead, if you're buying a new car, all you need to know is the AutoChannel.com. With somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million pages of content, the AutoChannel.com is the only automotive website you'll ever need to visit. Looking for the latest news in motorsports? Want to know what the hot new prototype was at the Detroit Auto Show? You'll know by going to the AutoChannel.com. The AutoChannel.com, your one-stop automotive website.
Don't pay another mortgage payment or maintenance fee on your timeshare. Turn it into cash. Call Timeshares Only.
We got rid of those maintenance fees.
Thanks, Timeshares Only, for making it so easy.
At Timeshares Only, you'll find properties from the biggest names in the industry. If you want to buy, sell, or rent, call now.
No more mortgage payments, no more maintenance fees.
Thanks, Timeshares Only.
Call Timeshares Only and get your free information kit with our insider secrets to buying, selling, and renting timeshares, plus receive a free $100 gift card. Our thousands of satisfied customers have made us the largest resale marketplace in the world. Call Timeshares Only now.
Your free information kit with our 10 secrets on selling your timeshare is waiting. The over $5 billion sold in the past 6 months proves now could be the best time to sell. Call Timeshares Only today. Thank us tomorrow.
Call Timeshares Only now and get your free information kit. Turn your timeshare into cash and never pay another mortgage payment, maintenance fee, or tax bill again. Don't wait. Call now.
Call 1-800-681-4199 for your free information kit and $100 gift card. That's 1-800-681-4199.
The most exciting thing I think I heard with respect to battery cost is, you know, because it's a chicken and egg thing. Batteries cost more because, for one thing, there isn't much demand for them. The utilities, which are really getting involved now, because, you know, they're building super grids now. They're going to have smart meters in homes that can determine when is the most economical time of the day or night to charge your electric car, for example.
Yeah.
And they'll automatically do that.
So it's a two-way smart grid like they're doing in Los Angeles.
That's right.
They're
Exactly.
testing
And that's sort of the prototype. And so they're talking about, you know, as the electric car is being charged, the power company may draw current from it, may draw energy from the battery, use it as a storage. That's right, to take care of, you know, the load. As loads increase and they don't have enough capacity, enough plant capacity, they'll draw from these batteries. And in fact, they're talking about maybe every garage having a black box full of batteries, so that they can, you know, the house has got solar cells on the roof and maybe a windmill in the backyard, and they store the battery, and then when the power company really needs it for a real hot air conditioning day, they've got it to draw on. Now, one of the really the most exciting thing I heard about in this regard, though, is that the utilities are talking about buying hundreds of thousands or millions of batteries and storing them in warehouses or you know, empty office buildings, and using them to store excess energy when they have it,
Huh.
and then draw down on it when
An
they need it.
infrastructure of storage.
That's right. And
Oh.
in the process of buying these hundreds of thousands or millions of batteries, they bring the cost of batteries down
Of course.
so that they
Yeah.
become more affordable for electric cars. And that's part of their strategy.
Ah,
And I think that's great thinking.
it is.
And
There really are some original thoughts. I mean, what is this about inductive charging, where I just drive into my garage and
well,
charge up?
there are a couple of companies that will bury, one of them uses a ring-shaped piece of wire buried in your garage floor, and you just drive your electric car over it and recharge it.
It sounds like science fiction, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
well, it does. But it's like the inductive charger you have in your electric toothbrush. There's no direct connection. And in fact, it's like the charger that GM used. I'm just turning around here, as you can see.
We can see, but we can't hear it because we're in the EV mode. My
That's
favorite
right.
mode here. I'm not spending a single drop of fossil fuel.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
And,
you were saying?
well, anyway, the inductive charging. That's how GM charged the EV1. The car, the famous car from the movie.
That's
who
right.
killed the electric car.
Right.
And so there was less of a shock hazard because you're just plugging this plastic paddle into the front of the nose of the car into a slot.
Right.
So these things are in your garage floor. You drive over them, park, and it charges your battery. Now,
Does it also curl my dog's hair if he falls asleep in the garage?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose that's a possibility, isn't it? My guess is there's an interaction between the car and the thing to turn it on.
Yeah.
But and this company is also putting them in parking lots at shopping centers.
Oh, good idea.
So
Yeah.
potentially every parking place in a shopping center could be a charging station. With no extra post or plugs or anything. And so you drive in, you park, and your car starts charging. And there's some kind of a wireless connection with the utility company, so it keeps track, it meters how much energy you've taken and charges you at the end of the month.
Now, is it advances like this that have made companies like Nissan think twice about hybrids and maybe jump directly to plug-in plug-ins, all electric?
They say exactly that, and they're working with companies to put in charging facilities, and they're working with government agencies. For example, several cities in California, and I think with California itself, so that eventually there are going to be enough of these charging stations that the electric car becomes a practical thing to consider. Maybe even driving between LA and San Francisco. You might pull into a McDonald's that has a charging station outside it, and so in the half hour that you're in there having lunch, you get maybe not a full charge, but a substantial charge, enough to go on the rest of the way to LA. And so this may be the first and the last hybrid that we see from Nissan.
To some people, cars and trucks are everything. To others, they're just transportation. Whatever your interest level is, you'll find more at theautochannel.com. The Auto Channel has 1 million pages of content. No, I don't mean 1 million pages, I mean 1 million pages, including thousands of videos. And the Auto Channel has dozens of searchable databases with the latest new and used pricing information. And it's all free. Theautochannel.com. There's nothing else like it.
Now, I've heard that there were some difficulties with lithium ion. But which is interesting because lithium ion has real advantages over nickel hydride, but now it has some of its own problems.
Yeah, there's been an overheating problem. There were some laptop batteries a while back, for example, that were overheating even to the point of catching fire. And Toyota actually delayed introduction of their plug-in hybrid vehicle because of that. And so that's been delayed for a while. Nissan says they've overcome that problem. They have developed their own battery internally in conjunction with a battery developer. And they've been working on this since the 80s, I mean, quite a while. And they have developed a battery that just doesn't seem to have this problem. So they are confidently coming into the market. I think they will have cars in the Japanese market about a year from now, or, well, they've talked about, I think, within 18 months in the U.S. market. They're talking about a pretty normal car right in the fat part of the market, kind of, you know, reading between the lines, it sounds like it might be sort of Prius size and, you know, with Prius kind of performance. 100 miles on a charge, 100 miles driving per charge. And then, I can't remember the figures I heard, but I think you could get a full charge in about 5 hours if you had, you know, 240 in your garage.
Del, when it comes to increasing the range that a vehicle can have, there are two important elements I'd like you to comment on. Number one, weight, because batteries do weigh, and number two, aerodynamics.
Well, the weight is a factor any time that you're changing speed. So when you're accelerating from a standstill, weight is going to be the overwhelming factor, and literally mass, you know. They're, of course, intimately entwined, but the heavier a car is, the more energy it takes to get it moving, okay? Now, once you get the thing moving and you're trying to maintain a steady speed, aerodynamic factors predominate. And even though people think that aerodynamics doesn't matter except at highway speeds, the fact is, anytime you're going over about 40 or 45 miles an hour, they equal other loads on the car, other forces that you have to overcome.
So the shape of the Prius is not an accident.
No, that's right. And its weirdness or strangeness, depending on who the critic is very much in order to decrease that aerodynamic drag. And the Prius ends up with like the lowest aerodynamic drag. The one we're all familiar with, the 04 Prius, had a drag of 0.26. And the new one dropped that a notch to 0.25. So at any rate, it's important to get both those figures down. And what regenerative braking does, you know, which hybrids and electrics have, is that when you, as you slow down, every generator, every motor potentially is a generator. So it's spinning up as you slow down, and it's sending current back to the battery. Now, I know that there are special generators built into hybrids for doing this and everything, and I'm making a simplified statement here, but fundamentally, what you're doing is getting back some of the energy you spent to get the car moving in the first place. In other words, the energy that you spent due to the weight of the car. You get about 30% of that back in a good regenerative braking system.
Yeah.
That's one reason why hybrids get better mileage in city driving than highway driving.
I got a new one for you.
Okay.
I just read this from MIT.
Yeah.
The kids there have developed a shock absorber, a regenerative shock absorber. So every time you hit a bump, it's creating electricity.
That's great.
Isn't that great stuff?
That's great. Yes. And there, you know, I think there's going to be all kinds of ideas like that going on, and that's one of those things that's going to make this second electric car era get here faster rather than slower.
If cars are your thing, if you're a gearhead, all you need to know is the AutoChannel.com. Looking for archival video of land speed racing on the Bonneville Salt Flats, Formula One at Nürburgring, drag racing at Pomona, Indy cars at Indy, or the Stalkers at Daytona? The only website where you'll find it all is the AutoChannel.com. With somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million pages of content, the AutoChannel.com is the only automotive website you'll ever need to visit. The AutoChannel.com.
Well, Del, I don't think we should wrap this up without making some comments about this 2009 Nissan Altima Hybrid. I enjoyed driving this car a lot. It feels like a car, like a regular car.
Yeah, and I would say exactly the same thing. I've been sitting here driving it, and there's no impression that it's anything special. I'm not aware of the shifting, the going in and out of the engine, and I think there are a lot of people that want that. They don't want to know that it's something unusual. Like a lot of people still ask hybrid owners when they plug it in, and you don't. I mean, if you just went in and bought this and never asked the salesman about it, you wouldn't have to know.
That's right.
You just put gas in it when the gas gauge gets close to empty, and there's nothing strange about it. And in a way, I mean, this is one of the nicest hybrids I've driven in that regard. I mean, it's a totally invisible system.
Well, Del, it really sounds like we are on the edge of a very interesting next 5 or 10 years. There just seems to be a real momentum here for clean, quiet cars.
And the hybrids are just going to keep improving. The plug-in hybrid will come, and they'll get better. The range will get better. You'll be able to drive them on electric only further and further. The engine will become less and less necessary, and eventually, maybe you'll have enough range on electricity alone to go maybe a full day's drive, 500 miles. Excellent. And then who needs the engine?
Really?
And then your second electric car era has arrived when that happens.
Well, Del, keep going to those conferences. Keep us plugged in with the info. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it, Mark.
Road Trip is a production of the Auto Channel.